Dillen Doll, Chapter 3. The merry days getting past. As Dolly passed the spot where she and Bertha had spent their first night in the city all those years before, she didn't even give it a second glance. It had been a wool merchant then, and had been a blessing to the bewildered girls, the surrounding cobbles being strewn with the shredded cast-offs of its wares, which they were able to gather up around them and bundle into a discreet amount of warmth in the black shadow of the skewed yard gate. It was a printer's office now, and the wares that were scattered around nowadays amounted to nothing but puddles of blue-black river water and stones stained as if bruised at the entrance. Even at this early hour, a dim lamp glowed within, with men toiling through the night at pressing machine and paper lashing. It would be no place now for waifs seeking shelter from the harsh reality of their own innocent foolhardiness. But there had been instances in the years in between when Dolly had found herself taking time to give thanks for her good fortune in this bow-legged neighbourhood. There had been singular moments of realisation, mere hesitations in the clattering roll of life, when she was smitten by the fact that fate had dealt her a surviving hand, when around her so many other players in this unsteady game had fallen by the wayside. She had a paying job of sorts, a place to live, friends and acquaintances, a sprightly walk barely hampered by the physical failings, and a regular path through this beleaguered world to follow. And now also a man to grip her tightly by the waist and hair and match her good eye with one of his own. She'd often laugh inside herself at this thought, but not this day. The big market was already busy with women and beggars on missions like her own, to harvest the cast-off trimmings of poor-quality midweek vegetables that the stallholders scattered sparingly in their wake. Dolly's heart sank. Already a pall of disappointment draped like a salt fret over the faces of those gathered there. The stallholders frisked busily around their trestles and carts, anxious for the chance to strike out at anyone who stretched an overzealous hungry hand in the direction of their forbidden stock. Looks of harsh resentment slapped Dolly's flushed cheeks as she joined the throng. To her right she saw a familiar face snarling accusingly at all and sundry. It was Bella Roy, leaning brazenly against the wall of the Lamb Inn, the sharp remnants of her snapped clay pipes jammed unfulfilled and unlit in her teeth. "Ah, Dolly," she said too loudly. "Don't think you're too late and charge yourself. There was nowt for gathering. Them tight arses wouldn't spare you a gobspit if you crawled from Eaton Bank, the smut wipes." "We owe you a nowt, you drunken bitch," one of the stall-holders retorted from behind the safety of his handcart. Bella gutted like an alley cart and stared at him with cold eyes. He sidled a step or two further from her. She chuckled in triumph. Bella had been the queen of the big market when Dolly had first clapped eyes on her, a striking woman with a voice like a slider's bell. She'd been amply generous to the poor and needy from behind her own stall in days gone by, and many a hungry soul, Dolly included, had been grateful for her benevolence in darker times of keelman strikes and weather-bound rig famines. But slowly her fortunes had changed. Her husband Rowley had died of a dog bite while gathering produce from a keelman's allotment off Down Crook one Christmas Eve. And though Bella gamely struggled on, bolstered by the sympathy and understanding of the entire quayside, her looks and her devoted customers had gradually ebbed away. One by one, the public houses that increasingly became her main habitats became less tolerant of her boldness and boisterousness, until now only the Flying Horse offered her a grudging welcome, tempered by an increasingly reluctant forgiveness in the face of her more alarming outbursts when worse for the drink. Dolly slid proudly towards her, defiantly eyeing the scowl of marketeers among the slant of tables and handcarts, and swallowing the bitter resentment she tasted at the sight of service maids and housewives emerging from pudding chair, purses ready, baskets poised. "I should have gone earlier up to the mill at Spittled Tongues," Dolly said. "Alice Carmichael told us she got a few fine helpings up there last Thursday. I was late up." Bella looked sideways at her and smiled. "He's a hungry man, that muss. Lighten more, I'll bet," she said coarsely. Dolly flushed and looked away, a certain pride stroking her embarrassment at sharing words like this with an older woman. "Well, he'll be at work with an empty stomach the day," Dolly sighed. "Is he still on the shoots?" asked Bella. "No," she answered, "he's with the children's. Comes home stinking of hosmuck every night, but it's better money for us." Dolly was relishing this homely talk between women, feeling like a true wife with a man to scold and criticise. Bella sensed the warmth between them and the unexpected domesticity that easily oozed from the girl. Yes, she must be 23 or more years, but she'd always be the twisted girl with fear in her eyes, squinting, that Bella had first seen trailing behind her bold sister up the market bank a dozen years before. That distant morning, Bertha and Dolly had woken as one, tangled in each other's skirts and limbs, and dry of mouth from the dust of the sheep's wool, at the clanging of a ship's bell somewhere close by. Dolly had risen and walked with curiosity towards the river, where a sizable bark was attempting a tight turn at the very base of the bridge. A smattering of foreign-tongued shouts and clamours were echoing across the water from a handful of crew leaning over the gunwales to watch for shallow banks and smaller traffic. Bertha had decided in the night that they must head home today to Deptford. Further searching for their errant father was pointless. If he was here, there was a more likelihood of him eventually getting word to them, either by message or in person, if they were at the family house, where equally they themselves would be in a safer and less precarious situation. They had reliable friends and relatives, Bertha reasoned, and some kind of work for herself would surely present itself before too long. She cast a wary eye towards Dolly as she straightened herself up and smacked the filthy wool strands from the folds of her skirt.